2nd and 3. Ole Miss needs to get in a rhythm here. And Walton gets only a yard there, so it'll be 3rd and about 2 as Chucky Hunter clogged up the middle. It's Robert Conyers, who's being attended by the medical staff. Ole Miss cannot afford more damage to their offensive line.
2 years ago during the Peach Bowl, he kind of injured his other knee. He had some minor stuff during the season, but during the Peach Bowl, we came back in town. He says, "Man, this thing's bothering me." So we kind of looked into it further, and we scoped his knee. And then, unfortunately, in spring, he got rolled up, injured the same knee again, just in a little different spot. So we had to scope him again. So that's obviously 2 surgeries within about 4 months. And then he worked hard to get back with that. Started the season, was doing well. And then, in Memphis, he tears his ACL on his opposite knee. So basically, less than a year, he's had 2 operations on one knee and 1 operation on the other.
Let's check with Richard. Got a rebel down. That's Robert Conyers, too, who's been fighting that knee injury, Richard.
He really has. And, just banged up cumulatively probably over his career and throughout this season. He's rolling around and really in some pain. Looks like they're looking at his left knee.
Rob's had more injuries than you would wish on anyone in this game. And those are very disappointing moments when you've battled back and all of a sudden something happens again. He's had more than his share.
This one happened in Memphis, and the other one I just kind of had a little bit lingering bruising issues and stuff. So it's getting better though. One of many. That's the biggest one so far. Little battle scars.
Everyone has a finite number of games and practices they're involved in. So when that gets taken away multiple times, a lot of people do get down. So he has had a tough road, but he does work hard. He's another guy that in the weight room with Dom, that they've done a good job of putting a program together for him.
Coach Dom, the weight coach, does a great job. Every day it's something new. It's just, there's not a day goes by that I'm not sore from his workouts, or same thing with Pat and El. They do a great job.
Through hard work and dedication during his rehab, Conyers was able to work his way back into the starting rotation by the beginning of the 2016 season, picking up where he left off at the center of the line.
Man, I could go on and on with individual efforts, but I'd start with Robert Conyers. You're talking about a guy that gives everything to a program. He's 3 knee surgeries, hasn't practiced all week, does not need to really play tonight, and jumps out there and gives us his 20 to 30 snaps. Guys like that, the resiliency and fight paid off in a 60-minute SEC road battle.
Through the injuries and the rehab, Conyers was physically stronger. Emotionally, however, he had been carrying the memory of former teammate Park Stevens for the past 4 years.
Park was a junior college transfer that came in, was there for the spring practice, kind of like one of the freshman early enrollees, and him and Park hit it off. Robert and Park did.
Who's this big goof? Who's this big 6'9", 6'8", just goofball that's roaming around here and cracking jokes to everybody? He's one of those guys that you feel like you knew forever.
Park and Robert had just an instantaneous relationship. They bonded immediately. They have a lot the same personality, so many of the same mannerisms. I still see mannerisms in Robert, and I think, gosh, that's Park.
They hit it off in a way that it's hard to describe. They were so much alike, it was almost like their moms had them and put one up for the adoption, and the other one, wound up with the other family,
I was living in the dorm, and he had just gotten here from JUCO, and he was just like, "Hey, you looking for somewhere to live?" And I was like, "Sure, man." So we got this little 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment over there at the Links, and it was a lot of man in one little house.
Your roommate is the guy you go through it with. When you have your problems, or you're late and they're trying to wake you up and get you to a workout. But Robert probably took Park under his wing. A guy coming in from junior college. But they did have a special relationship, and any time that happens with a roommate, it's tough.
It was July 3rd, and we had gone on the first family vacation without Park ever because he was back doing his thing at Ole Miss, and he had workouts in class and all.
We were celebrating Gail's birthday. Her birthday's July 1st. We'd waited till we got to the mountains with the grandkids to actually have the birthday party and the cake.
I posted a picture of Dean in the hot tub with our grandbabies, and the caption under it was, "Life is good." And 5 minutes later, Dean's brother called us.
I thought something had happened to my mom, and I thought maybe he just wanted, it to be told by someone else to me. And I kept saying, is there something wrong with Mama? What's happened and all? He said, I just need to talk to Justin. And I said, well, Ashley, something's not right. I said, tell me what's happened. And he said, Dean, he didn't make it. I said, what do you mean he didn't make it? He said, Park didn't make it home. He said, he's gone.
It was almost like instantly I heard Dean keep saying, Ashley, I don't understand you. You've got to talk to me. And I just had this feeling, and I looked at him and I said, the baby's dead. The baby's gone.
It's just like the world stopped. And you just go numb. You don't know what to say. But I can remember hanging up the phone and going straight upstairs to the bedroom and pulling out the suitcase and start throwing clothes in it because I had to get home.
My first thought was, somebody get to Robert. I knew the relationship the two of them had, and I said, he's all alone. His parents are in Miami and we're in Gatlinburg. Somebody get to Robert. And they told me, don't worry. Robert's surrounded by coaches and linemen, and he's okay.
Park Coleman Stevens. At 6'8", 350, the gentle giant was known for his bear hugs, his huge heart, and captivating smile. A stranger to none and a friend to all. I'm thinking about him. All the stuff that he's done for us. Taking care of his parents.
Still in shock from the tragedy and compelled to do something more, Conyers went to Coach Luke with a special request.
I remember that first day back, walking into the meeting room and kind of looking around, and I was like, there's got to be something I can do. There's got to be more.
Robert asked me if, he could wear, 75, and I said, you sure this is something that you want to do? Because, that's a tough thing to do, is to carry on that memory. But it was something he wanted to do in honor of Park, and I know that Robert's heart is in the right place, and he wanted to do it for the right reasons.
We couldn't ask for a bigger request to be honored than the one that Robert gave us that day when he asked to change his number, and for him to want to honor Park in the way he has and to keep his memory alive. You can't ask more as a mom and a dad for him to have done what he's done.
Robert wearing 75 has changed its meaning. The first game, when Robert ran onto the field, there was this feeling of us seeing Park run onto the field. It didn't take long after that till it wasn't Park, it was Robert. It was our other son. It was the person who promised that he'd take care of us and that he would love us and that Park's memory would live on in him.
It puts it in perspective for him of all this is an injury. and I can bounce back from this.
I mean, every time I get hurt or anytime it's like a step back, I always think like, man, it could definitely be worse. You know what I mean? It could always be, you know what I mean? It could always be the other side of the coin, and like kind of just, you know what I mean, puts like the cap on his, you know what I mean, on his playing career as well as mine. You know what I mean? I feel like it's an honor just to be out there and know that there's somebody else that means a lot just because of the number I'm wearing on my jersey.
As an 18-year-old child, he had to face something most adults can't face. And he chose to face it by making a promise to two people that he had known less than a year, that he would love them and he would take care of them and he would always be there for them. And that 18-year-old boy kept that promise.
I believe this is Robert's way of carrying Park's memory. And I think when he puts that jersey on, he's representing more than a number. He's representing himself, but he's also representing Park and Park's family.
God's plans are not ours to see until they're laid out in front of us. But Park served his purpose in God's eyes. I think God had a little bit more work for Robert, and it was to go out there in that number 75 and wear it with pride. When you look around our house, you see the 75. You will see it at the top of our Christmas tree. You'll see it in pictures. And a lot of those pictures may not be of Park, they may be Robert. But when folks talk about that number, it's not just Park, it's Robert Conyers that seen it through. So.